Yep, we back again. I believe the children are our future. Hey, just playing around, but getting into it. The next generation. What are we preparing them for? Marriage, failure, lack of funds. A lot of parents, just be honest, don't know anything. A lot of parents know the bare minimum, and they're coming in with this mindset and trying to teach their kids. It comes down to, say the least, with most parents, you might have graduated high school, might have had some college, but even if you graduated college, got a PhD, some of these kids are surpassing their parents. Far as the knowledge, some of them are just bare bones. You have a college educated, master degree, mother or father, and this child don't even know what 2 plus 2 is. So it boils down to a situation where you have to find yourself. You know, we go through these scenarios and what could happen and ultimately this and what is that every single time. And at every single time and turn, there are situations to where a lot of people getting to a point, Toya, what's going on? And it's getting to a point to where the knowledge is not given to most of these kids. So therefore, their expectations is very low. They're literally starting the race negative. They're not coming in here, first place. They're not coming in second place. A lot of these kids, eighth place or sometime last. I mean, being to face it, I talked about this before. Got a cousin, you know, apartment, department, staying with people. But when we were having a conversation, he was like, "Man, my dad, he man, he people get houses. He has several houses, renting them out, and now to the degree he's in an old folks home. He never taught me about buying a house. Never knew the first thing, you know, about anything dealing with my credit. None of that stuff. And Bunny Rose was going on, Bunny. And that was the thing. Like I told him, I said, "Did you even ask your dad?" And he thought about it. He was like, "Man, you're right. I never did ask." I was like, "Well, how you expect to learn this information and you don't ask to be taught it?" Well, I just assumed that he knew it. He was going to teach me. Maybe he thought you wasn't ready to receive the knowledge. I said, that's the deal with a lot of us. We want to know things. We ready to do things. But from a standpoint, far as the parents, wellness with Frugal Mama was going on morning, morning, morning. I was running around this morning. I said, I'm gonna have to jump back over there later, watch a video. But yeah, it comes to a point you just literally you're not ready far as in most parents' eyes. I mean, let's face it. My daughter, for instance, prime example. My daughter, when she was about 8 years old, she wanted to wash dishes so much, and I kept telling her, "Nope, nope, you're not ready, nope." And she was like, "Well, I do little stuff. I clean my room, I this and that." I said, "No, you're not ready." And so my wife was like, "No, let her wash dishes. It's okay." I said, "Nah, not too early. It's too early." So went on ahead. 2 years, I kept pushing. No, no, no. I said, "Okay." I might let her wash at 10. I say, but preferably 12. I say, that's when you get in your preteen years, going into middle school and stuff. Because I knew how I was. Key, what's going on? So I knew how I was. So I kept telling my wife, I said, don't let her wash dishes now. Let her wash dishes when she turned 12. So eventually, 12 came. She started washing dishes. She hated it. And that's the thing, sometimes as parents, we know our kids won't be ready for this thing, and to a degree they're going to get burnt out. That was a lot of people I talked to. They got burnt out from doing certain things because they did it so much when they were younger. They got burnt out with it. You know how many women that I've talked to that they were the firstborn. So every time that mom had the kid, they were the big, they were the mom. They were the secondary mom. They had to make sure the kids got dressed and went to school, made sure the kids had some food to eat, got dressed, everything. So you kind of get burnt out as women were that way. Even with the men, the young boys when they were young, they got burnt out. You were the oldest, you had to make sure you babysit your brothers and sisters. You had to protect them, make sure they eat, cook for them if I'm not here. It was a lot of work from both generations. From the mother putting that same influence that her parents gave her, instead of twisting it around, like do it sometime, but not all the time. You know, that was the same thing with my kids. When they were growing up, my twins, when they were coming up, and my two older kids, I hardly tried to let them watch them because I knew the ramifications that was going to happen later on. And but they wanted to play with brother and sister, so I let them go play. But there was never a thing where I always told them change the pamper. This I might say, hey, change the pamper. They peed or something. Not trying to be too harsh. Every now and then I make them change a little boo boo pamper, get them all mad. April, what's going on? April Showers, Ice Turner, what's going on with you? And it comes a point where you have these situations where oh, uh, that, 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 channel. Oop, oop. All right, trying to make sure I got everything together. All right, so we good. Boom, boom. All right, so basically, I gotta always announce this too because I keep forgetting to be that I'm a YouTuber. Everybody can share your links, drop your channels. Everybody's wrenched up to where you can directly go to other people's channels, sub to their channel, check out the channel. Predicated on you. If you like the content, hey, deal with it. If you don't like the content, by all means. But having an understanding that you know give a channel a try. Maybe it was a bad day or something, but nevertheless, getting back into the conversation, when everything rolls around, a lot of kids, they have to be trained properly. You know, and it's sense that I'm saying for our next generation, we got to start teaching them more about money at a young age. You know how many kids don't know how to add and subtract? I always talk about one of my sons, being bad in math. He knows the basic, but far as when you get started to get into multiplication and start doing these long division, short division, multiplication, like it just wrecks them. You don't want to implement the formulas. In my opinion, I always tell my wife he's just lazy minded. He wants somebody to do it for him, you know. And it was funny because his brother came out with a conversation. I got twin boys, so one of them came to the other twin and was like, "Man, you don't even know how to clean dishes right." And he was like, "Man, I'm gonna get a maid." And so his brother told him, "How you gonna get a maid and you not good at math? You gonna get him too much money." And he's like, "Well, that's what I have an accountant for." And and he stopped there because his brother was like, "Well, yeah, that is a person that does and deal with money." But the funny part of it that was I was laughing because I'm like, even accountants are the worst. They take your money as well. So when it comes down to it, it was just crazy for them having that conversation at their young age, around 10, 11 years old. And the crazy part about a lot of these things when we have these talks with our kids, you start knowing that your kids know a lot more than you think. You know, being around in situations, for instance, Um, my son talked to my wife, talked to my brother, my older brother, and was like, "How can I get on Dad's good side so I can start getting more money with my chores and stuff?" And both of them told him, "Say you need to start doing your chores before he asks you to do it, and making sure things are clean. Far as your room, far as your chores being done, your homework done, tutoring, whatever you got to do. Try to do that before he get home." All right, I'm gonna try that. I mean, just to even have that sense of conversation, to want to talk to someone to ask that. I mean, you can see his level of thought and the way he, what I'm saying, want to go about things. Then you have the other brother that I'm just gonna do what I want to do. If I get in trouble for it, oh well. They always say there's one bad seed in the bunch, but to a degree, it doesn't have to be that way. And so that's why you kind of, what's going on, young? So that's why you got to start raising your kids properly, in the right way. The children are the future. So the way you teach your kids and having an understanding, I say this all the time about kids right now, you literally have kids raising kids, you know, and this goes back to what I always speak on: society standards. Society puts our kids at risk because they make it the norm for you to act a certain way or be a certain way. Had a conversation with my son last night. Got in trouble in school, and he had to write these paragraphs. Didn't want to write the paragraphs. He had to write 10 paragraphs, and he was dreading these 10 paragraphs. He wrote, I think, 8 last night, and he said the teacher forgot him, so she didn't get him. So I was like, I don't care if the teacher forgot him or not. Don't write those 8 paragraphs. I mean, those 10 paragraphs and see what happens. You know, because I told him every time he go to school, you're a reflection of me. So your behavior dictates how I run my household and how I govern you, as a child. So when you come into school, show off, act up, that means I give you no home training, no direction. I told them the other kids that you deal with, they might don't get in trouble, but guarantee if you do something wrong and that teacher calls me, you're getting in trouble. And I carry and adopted that same thing from my past generation dealing with my family. I mean, my parents and my grandma. Their generation always let it be known: better me than the police. Govern your house before someone comes in and govern it for you. And most of the time, that's what you're dealing with these kids. You know, having situations to where someone has to come in and put your kids in place and ultimately put you in place, whether it be taking you to jail and so forth. So, it comes a point to where you got to start looking, what are the things I need to do to provide for my kids to have a better life? What are different options? Ultimately, it's your decision. You have to decide. And, for the most part, I'm not going to have a long video on this topic because, I always talk about money all the time, but it's more or less just a conversation about the next generation of young kids, you know, teaching them things, letting them know, their place, you know, and a lot of people might have offense to that, saying about knowing their place. Know where you stand in life. I mean, honestly speaking, to a degree, you sitting here trying to, ride a high horse when you're not on that level, trying to be something that you're not. Honestly speaking, hey, everybody has a place. Everybody has a system in which you belong to. But the thing it is, you don't have to stay in that, area, expertise or whatever. It's up to you. But when it comes down to it, you don't have to stay. I've always heard, and I've talked to different people as well, and we go into this conversation all the time about how kids came up in poverty and situations to where they grew up and didn't want to, you know, keep that same energy and ultimately, change their life. Same in regards to family and friends, where they didn't want to keep living the same struggle as their mother and father, because of the way that they move and the way that they benefited their life, far as with kids and things. So they say, well, I'm gonna go ahead and change my life and do this and be this way better than my mother and father. I'm gonna change my life. Flawless mentality in the building. Black excellence. What's going on, Dr. Mark? But it's up to them. You know, a lot of kids grew up in poverty. Parents probably never graduated high school, you know, to a degree. I mean, honestly speaking, my grandmother never graduated high school. Back in those days where she lived at in the country, they only had middle school. After middle school, you got a job, you work. All the kids from the city went to high school. The kids from the country, they didn't go to high school. After eighth grade, seventh or eighth grade, you stopped going to school, And to a degree, in most of those small rural areas, you had from kindergarten, pre-K, or kindergarten all the way to seventh or eighth grade, and that was it. That was the length of your education. After that, you would go do some other things, go get a job. And the craziest part is my grandma had a amazing life compared to, her education where she stopped. She worked for call center. Um, she worked for a mental facility for kids. It was so many things that she did as far as with her education. And the crazy part is on the job training. That was a big thing. Technical school. A lot of people did that back in the day. And instead of getting these 4-year degrees, a lot of them went to technical school, took trades, you know. But nevertheless, keeping it far as our kids, getting them to a point where their mindset, because like I said, if you're struggling, 9 times out of 10, when your child gets to a certain age and they're seeing it more and more younger now, it took me to get in middle school to kind of say, well, I want to better myself. I want this and I want that. Same thing applies to my kids. They're looking at this at a very young age. In elementary school, they was wanting more and wanting to do more with their lives. And that was the thing for me, having that mindset to say anything that other people went through, I'm not going to go through. All the struggles that my family faced, I'm not going to face those struggles. I'm going to do what it takes. And it starts with you. You know what I'm saying? You literally have to overcome all the guilt and horrible things that happened to you in your past, move forward and make your life better and better for your kids. That's ultimately the next step in all that. We can have our conversations, we can cry, we can, moan, we can point the finger, but in the end, once you turn 18, you're pretty much have to be accountable for yourself. So we have to get these connections in our life now before we lose ourselves later. And I always promote this and I always talk about this, not wanting to be so old in life trying to figure things out. You should be done had things figured out at a young age, and all you're doing is tweaking, fixing, and moving things around to make yourself have a better life. You know, I always say that with life insurance. It's never a bad time to get life insurance, but it's always better to get it younger because you're in prime health, you're in a good situation, strong, built. Insurance is cheaper. Older, you have issues, medical, that's when it becomes a risk for the insurance company. You know, same thing prime as a job. You wouldn't want to go to the NFL in your 50s and 60s. You want to go when you're 20 and 30 in your younger years when your body's strong, you know, and it's a thing. They always say this. When you literally hurt yourself at a younger age, it takes a while for your body to heal. Younger age, you can break a bone, 2 weeks, maybe a week, and you're back up running around. When you get to your older age, you break a bone, you might have a month, hopefully a little bit less than that, but sometimes could be more, depending on your body. So, you know, Old man once told me, you have literally one body. Take care of it. Take care of your feet. Take care of your back. He said, because once your feet go, your back go, you can't do no manual labor. And I took his advice, moved around, did things accordingly, and is what it is. So with that being said, shout out to everybody that came through. Once again, help the next generation. You know, it doesn't even have to be with money. Give them information. Give them some understanding about life. Start trying to do it at a young age. See what your kids' interest is and try to, put them in that situation. Now I'm in a point where I'm looking into a lot of gaming computers to get one of my sons. He play games a lot. I'm like, maybe he might be a gamer. He'll get to a point because gamers make money, but the thing of it is, I don't want to put his mind to just being a gamer, more or less controlling and making your own game. If you're gonna do this, go into graphics. This is a form of computer graphics, and engineering is something that he don't even have it in his head. But the point of it is, since he's liking games, I can pique his interest into that. My other son, he's into fashion. He likes dressing and wearing clothes, just like I was into fashion. I used to dress nice as well too with the money I had. You know, when you ain't got money or you don't get the most latest and greatest clothes, hey, you got to make it work for what you got. So that was the thing. And with him, he has potential. He has a lot more money, a lot more stuff than I did when I was growing up. So many shoes and so many clothes. But like I told him, all that can cease if you're not getting these grades right. That was the number one, thing I tell all my kids. For you to get all and every, you got to keep these grades up. And with that being said, shout out to everybody that came through. Once again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hit the like on your way out. Wipe your feet, hit the like, and be gone. If you desire, you can replay this again. If you missed the intro. But once again, like I always say, we here and we gone.